Hello, Sagittarius, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for the month of February. This is only the second month that I've been doing these video horoscopes, so I just kind of want to let people know the best way to really interact with these horoscopes. You're ideally going to get the best out of these horoscopes if you watch the horoscope that relates to your ascendant, what in Vedic astrology we call the Lagna. Secondarily, you want to watch it for your moon sign. If you don't know either of these, of course, watch it for your sun sign. I'm just trying to express to you that you'll get the greatest accuracy from these horoscopes if you watch them in relation to your ascendant. Also, in addition to that, horoscopes can only go so deep. If you want a full assessment of your horoscope and in relation to the transits that are taking place, I highly suggest one of my astrological services. You can schedule those at the link above. So, we like having freedom of choice. Freedom of choice in our mind, well, of course, it means opportunity. It means potential. But potential sometimes is just a little bit hazy and foggy. And let's face it, the words nebulous and amorphous don't really go so well together with the concepts of stability, security, and those things that make us feel safe. Because when we don't know, we don't know. And not knowing, of course, breeds uncertainty. And uncertainty can then lead to further confusion in regards to direction. Now, with the transits as they stand in the month of February, you can get all caught up in this dilemma of choices, or you can go right to the root of what's going on. Why don't we do that for you? We've got some pretty powerful alignments happening this month, one of which quite often gets ignored. Most often, in terms of transits, people don't pay much attention to the nodes, but they're really important. And we've got February starting off with Rahu transiting over Venus in your house of security, instability. Now, this is going to take place in an area of the sky that's called Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra. One of the many things that Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra can bring to the surface is revelation of things that we weren't really aware of before. So when that happens, problems become more noticeable. And as that begins to surface, you may find yourself in a position where you're going, halt, stop, don't go that way. And that may be a bit of an overreaction to the situation that you're dealing with. When Rahu transits over Venus, quite often what we end up having is overblown idealism. What do I mean by that? Well, Venus represents your conscious desires. That's that part of you that goes, hey, there's some chocolate over there, and that chocolate will taste really good, and it's so luxurious and silky. But at the same time, I know if I eat too much of it, it's not going to be good for my health. Rahu is compulsive desires. So Rahu has already eaten that entire bar of chocolate already. So when you put those two planets together, you have this sense of idealism of the way we think things should be. And idealism quite often, boom, runs right smack into realism. At the same time that this is going on, Rahu, which is itself a pretty shady and foggy planet, that's the North Node, is also going to be crossing over Neptune, which is also in Uttara Bhadrapada. Neptune represents the hazy, the amorphous, the dreamy, the vision. So part of you is going into this deep visioning of how you think you could be more successful going forward. And this is a very creative time because you can begin to build a lot of your ideas and opportunities. But at the same time, a lesson that's going on in the background over the course of the next year and a half is you getting into the space where you're going, you know, maybe it's less important at the moment that I focus on my long-term success, and much more important, that I focus on my immediate stability, security, and happiness. Rahu's wanting to bring those lessons to the surface for you. So, what it's going to do is you begin to put forward these ideas that you feel are going to make you more successful. You might hit with a little bit of resistance. As I was saying, that does not mean you should stop your path altogether. It means you should pay attention. Also, at the beginning of the month, your ruler Jupiter begins to shift back to forward direction. That's great. Part of what you're doing on the work front, or maybe even in relationships, you may find yourself in a position where you're going, I want to work more on this relationship with this other person that I'm connected with, who maybe is a little bit jealous of me for some unknown reason, because Jupiter's transiting through an area of the sky called Rohini, which can quite often bring that. When Rohini is in the equation, we often become more productive and focused on those things that we're wanting to create, but it quite often breeds envy or jealousy from other people. In addition to that, you may find yourself in a position where you're going, sod off. I don't care what other people think about me as I'm putting myself out there a little bit more. I just care about the things that I know are going to work and that ultimately are going to make things better in my life. You're building security, you're building stability over time. But you need to understand sometimes when you hit opposition, like, mid-month, you actually might hit, well, a bit of a bump in the road. If you have somebody who is a colleague who's trying to help you on your path and they're going, you know what? You never listen to me. You never recognize the things that I'm trying to say. Maybe take in some of what they're saying. We're going to have Mercury uh, forming a tense alignment with Uranus, which is in a section of the sky that's called Kritika. This is all about purification, fine tuning of your approach. It may present itself through the lips of a colleague or a sibling, even perhaps, and you may find yourself in a position where you're having to kind of, again, reassess things. None of these things are about you stopping what you're doing. As a matter of fact, towards the end of the month, around the 24th of February, Mars is going to station direct after its long period of retrograde motion. And some solutions that you've had in place to try to make things a lot better are going to begin to gain some momentum, because you'll have that going on at the same time that your ruler Jupiter will have already become direct. Mars is going to be forming a harmonious alignment with Mercury, which is in your one of Jupiter's other signs, which is Pisces, which is your fourth house. And all those things that have seemed nebulous and been in the planning stages are going to begin to gain some forward momentum. Is it going to happen quickly and swiftly? Well, more quickly and swiftly than it will have done, probably over the course of the last month and a half, but still not at a super fiery pace. So, what are your takeaways for the month of February? Security and something being amorphous don't really go hand in hand. But at the same time, as you're going through a process of unraveling maybe the things that are keeping you from gaining a little more ground and being a little more secure in where you're wanting to take things going forward, you need to be cautious of not overreacting. You may be shown on a certain level that maybe you're taking a little too much of a dreamy approach, but at the same time, you don't want to halt a vision just because you're recognizing that you may not be able to realize it to its full capacity. Be realistic, be pragmatic. That's part of what February's astrology is trying to tell you. But at the same time, don't halt your forward progress altogether. Don't go, I need to go back to the drawing board. Instead, keep forward with your plans, but fine tune the process. If you could use a little bit of help with things in the month of February or even before, because you might be watching this in January, please feel free to schedule in one of my astrological services. You'll find those through my services page, which is linked above. That's going to do it for this look at the month of February for you, Sagittarius. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.